Episode number 10. We are officially podcasters. Not the greatest podcasters in the world.
Did you hit record?
We're not the greatest podcasters in the world because this is our third time doing this intro and I forgot to hit record all 3 times. But you know what? Thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode number 10. I promise it will get better. I think we were just talking about when do we change seasons.
Yes.
And I think after episode 10 is when the seasons change, correct?
Yes. Well, I mean, there's no specific way, but I think we should wrap it up after 10 and make season 2 like cooler.
Yeah, so after episode number 10, I think we'll wrap up. I think I'll probably get better equipment. I'll get better cables because my mic keeps cutting off. But yeah, I think in the beginning of this whole situation, I think the idea was to bring in guests and have us talk with them about their upbringings, their obstacles, their hustle, and all that kind of stuff. But obviously COVID happened and, you know, we weren't able to do that.
Or we thought COVID would be over by now.
Yeah.
It's like not.
So this whole season 1 has literally just been you and I talking about our relationship, our ups and downs, our pregnancy. And as fun as that was, I think we've, you know, said what we needed to say about our relationship and we can move on.
Yes, I'm down.
But I think we have a couple people in mind that we'd love to bring on board. I've talked about Jerry, my business partner, Edna, a life coach.
Or send us ideas. Who do you want to see, or like what topics would you like to be covered? Maybe we can find some people around that.
For sure. I mean, I'd love to incorporate people in the community and people that we know, obviously, you know, being safe with it. But we'll go from there. Last episode, we talked about our wedding and we actually did a giveaway. So we will be announcing the winner right here. So congratulations. You will be receiving an Hija de Tu Madre planner. Thank you, Hija de Tu Madre, for partnering with us and providing us that planner to give away.
Thank you so much, Patty, and the social media team over at Hija de Tu Madre. You all are the best to work with, and you always hook me up with really, really cool gear. Make sure you follow Hija de Tu Madre and get some cool Latina-ish.
And also Pink Society.
Oh, yeah, and Pink Society. My friend Gia hooked me up with this cool, cute loungewear that I'm wearing. So if you like cute clothes and want cute pieces, go follow Pink Society LA, and you can also use my discount code, my name.
Spelled right here.
ARLEEN.
Ooh. Episode number 10, we've promised you guys we talk about our postpartum experience. Since our labor video, I think we talked about this just because we didn't go into depth because I don't think we were ready.
Yeah.
Still don't think we're fully ready, but
No.
I think it's important for us to share our experience because I think we now watch a lot of YouTube videos about other people's experience and wish we would have had some sort of insight that they provide. So I think it's very beneficial.
I also think it's important to share because, to be honest, I was very embarrassed of my labor story for a really long time. And then we did the labor story. If you haven't watched that, we have an episode on our labor story, which kind of makes sense to tie into what we're going to talk about today.
I think you kind of should watch that before watching this.
And then everything will kind of make sense.
For sure.
And a lot of people reached out about having similar stories or about having trauma or about having just C-sections. And then a lot of things that I'm actually doing now that I've posted about, people have also reached out and asked for tips, asked for advice about the things I'm doing now because it's helping me out a lot, which I'll touch on a little bit later. But I also did want to kind of put in a trigger warning for this episode because a lot of things that we're going to talk about are kind of hard to, number one, speak about, and also, two, can bring up emotions, especially if you've had a traumatic experience like I've had.
Just getting right into it, I think for us, we thought we had our postpartum mentality ready.
Yeah.
I think, at least for me, speaking on my side, I thought for us, the biggest obstacles would be you physically not feeling yourself. Like your body's going to change, obviously, after the baby. Like you were very physically active. You love to run. You love to work out. You're very like a go-getter. So I think after the baby, I think we knew it'd be very difficult to get that activity in and that body back and all those kinds of things. So I think you and I both talked about it. We're like, yo, we know it's going to be a hurdle, but we will figure it out. We'll be okay. Like we didn't think anything else would be an issue. I don't think we accounted for hormones. I don't think we accounted for like postpartum depression or baby blues, if you want to call it that. I don't think we prepped enough for that. And I think the experience we endured with the C-section and our whole, again, the labor story video, we'll tell you more about that. I think we didn't prepare for any of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny that you say that now because the whole physical aspect of it all, I don't even think is like a worry
That's like
anymore.
the least of our worries.
That's like the least of my worries. So to think about like how naive we were in a sense
For
back
sure.
then, it's just kind of like silly and funny to laugh at. But definitely we didn't prepare for what having a C-section looked like
Because
during
we
labor.
took classes on what labor was going to consist of, recovery, all that kind of stuff. But when it came to C-section information, we kind of skimmed past it just because we never thought that was going to happen with us. Because every doctor visit, our doctor was like, "You look perfect. Everything's moving along
Yeah.
great. Like, I don't see you going past 40 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
everything was like picture perfect. Like,
Yeah.
it was going to be the best delivery ever." But obviously, with the pregnancy rash and everything that happened, the induction that changed very quickly,
Yeah.
and so did our recovery plan.
Yeah. So that changed very quickly. And I think a lot of what set the tone for our postpartum journey was our labor experience.
Yeah.
So for me, it was I'm very traumatized by my labor experience. Everything panned out the way I never imagined it to. Like Barry said, we never had any red flags. So I have never in my life like came in so brave. Simba's back. Brave, I would say. And like, I know labor and pregnancy can bring a lot of anxiety, but I was not scared of going into labor.
Yeah.
And like I literally came in with like the strongest mindset and like the most positive mindset. And I was just like, let's go and let's do this. For it to have panned out the way it did, really made me sad. And that carried on to me postpartum.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever talked about the reasoning why you ended up having a C-section. So long story short, our doctor said that your pelvis was too small, so the baby would not be able to pass no matter what,
Yeah,
because we
through
did
the canal.
4 hours of straight pushing.
So I pushed for 4 hours during labor, and Soul never came down. And the doctor tried pulling and doing whatever she could on her end to get Soul out, and Soul just never came out. So in the end, they obviously had to like diagnose me with something, and her reasoning for Soul.
Simba.
Oh. Her reasoning for Soul not coming down was because I have a small pelvis. And obviously, I'm a very prideful person. And for me to tell me that my body couldn't do something that a woman's body is meant to do was very, what's the word? Like diminishing, was
Yeah,
very like.
it was kind of unacceptable in a sense because you did not want to believe that that was the case.
That was the case. And so obviously, my friend Jess, who was our doula, didn't believe that was the case. I, in my heart, didn't believe that was the case. And being the person that I am, I did more research and I did more research about that specifically. I have talked to multiple people, and they basically reassured me that my body is probably capable of having a baby, that it was probably not Soul's time. And to other people watching this, I'm not a doctor. I'm no expert in this field, like whatsoever. So don't take this as like medical advice at all, because that's not what I'm here to do. This is just like my experience and what I've discovered personally. And what I think I've discovered is from people that I trust and have researched. So I truly believe now from other people that I've talked to that it wasn't Soul's time to come.
I think there's a big misconception of like the
Due dates.
40 weeks is like after 40 weeks, like you have to deliver at 40 weeks, but it's realistically, I think 42.
Well, the thing that I've learned is that there's no real way to measure what the week
When
that
you
you're
officially
in
got-
and when you officially got pregnant and when you're officially supposed to deliver, because of your ovulation cycle of your
Right.
cycle. So there's no real way to measure that. And even they like think about it, like February has less days than other months.
Yeah.
So like measuring that is a little tricky. So you can be 40 weeks, but realistically be 38 or 42. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no real way to measure that.
And I think a lot of people kind of panic after 40 weeks. And I think
Yeah.
we were at 40 weeks and we didn't get induced because it was 40 weeks. We got induced because of the pregnancy rash.
Because I got a billion.
But I think that was also a thing. It's like, oh, we're 40 weeks. We're basically there. Might as well just do it. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So,
and so I now looking back, I think I reacted versus like
I think
coming up with a game plan.
I think the rash really threw us all off, and like we really had no other. I don't think we really had much of a choice because you were in a lot of pain. So
yeah, I was in disgusting pain.
so everything kind of just transpired.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like we're not dumb. Like I asked the doctor multiple times, like, "Are you sure this is gonna be okay? Like,
Yeah.
do you think like we'll be successful at this?" Like, never in my life did I think we'd have a failed induction, and it's so crazy because now that I've talked to, I'm going to physical therapy and I'm seeing a different doctor now for physical therapy, who like also does birth classes, and she's just really, really amazing. I'll actually, we'll insert her info here.
Yeah.
Because if you're interested in that, she's so resourceful, and she's so nice, and she's young, and she's really cool, and she's all about like helping like the people of color, or or our community.
Yeah.
So I'm really for that. And like now I just see doctors and like hospitals in like in a different light, but that's a whole different topic.
I think just because now we're more open to like holistic alternatives.
Yeah, but like also thinking about just like we experienced being pregnant during COVID, we had to deal with like how doctors were feeling, and like
They were overwhelmed, obviously.
overwhelmed, like trying to get people in and out. So now I just feel like maybe the doctor was just trying to get us in and out, and she thought, you know, this was gonna be okay for us, and it just didn't pan out that way for us. So if I were to do this again ever, we'd definitely take a different approach, but that's like a whole different story. So we'll stick to today's topic, which is postpartum, and
yeah. So again,
how it was just really hard for us.
So clearly, with that all being said, we were very ill prepared. We weren't ready for what was to come as far as the recovery, physically, spiritually, mentally, everything. We were just not there how we thought we were.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, after coming home with the baby and all that kind of stuff, you did experience like the baby blues, how they would say. Like, it's not fully depression, but it was definitely like triggers with the traumatic experience. But like, I remember one thing in particular, we had balloons that we had purchased for when Soul's officially due date was.
And we took a cute picture.
And we took a photo of it. And once we came back with Soul, like a couple weeks later, a week later, the balloons are still there. And you would just stare at the balloons, and you would just start crying, like hysterically crying. And I would tell you, like, what's wrong? Like, talk to me. Like, let's figure this out. And you just couldn't say a word. You were just crying. So that kind of made things difficult for us in our relationship, because you were kind of very to yourself.
I couldn't communicate. Like, it's really hard for, it's funny, it's not funny. I don't know why I always say that, but she would do sessions with us when we were pregnant, and it was just all about like bringing us together, like prepping us for labor, which we kind of did.
I think it was prepping us for like postpartum,
and just like being connected. And like, I just can't talk like about my feelings or my emotions, and I'm the type of person that like needs space. And then like when I'm collected and I'm okay, then I'll talk to you. Which like takes a while.
Hard.
But that's how I was, especially postpartum. I remember when we came home and my parents were outside waiting for us. Like, I just like, as soon as we got out of the car, I just started crying. And I don't even have like a real explanation for that. Like, I think it was just everything combined. Like, the trauma just like triggers me a lot. So like that is like another layer on top of everything else that makes me emotional.
Yeah.
I guess. So like I carry that with me.
Mm-hmm.
So then when something makes me emotional or sad, like it's like just fucking triple tears because of that trauma that's like still in the back of my mind. Yeah, I would just cry. Like, you guys would bring me soup in bed, and like I couldn't, like, I would sit there with like food spilling out of my mouth and just crying and crying and
you were also physically like not there, because you obviously the C-section, you could barely walk, you could barely use the restroom. You were on like multiple medications like oxytocin, I think like Tylenol, extra strength, ibuprofen,
and the stool softeners,
like all these different, we had to like kind of measure when you take what. And it was just a whole different,
it was a mess.
It was
a mess. And it's really big because the medication is a lot, and it's like
mentally you don't want to take it because we're obviously breastfeeding, so you don't want to add that to the baby, but obviously it's what they give you. And if there was times where you would kind of like wean yourself off of it, or like not take it as fully,
regrets, like you should have just chugged it all.
You just be in mad pain, and it's kind of like you have to take it how the doctors prescribed it. There's a reason why you have all that kind of stuff.
And like you have to take in mind, like when you have a C-section, they cut you open, and with that is like they don't only cut the first layer of your skin, they cut multiple times in order to get in there and like take the baby out. And then now going to physical therapy, and the doctor that I'm seeing, like I also learned like they cut up you, because sometimes I'm like, why does it hurt on top?
It's like a horizontal cut and a vertical cut.
Sometimes I'm like, why does it hurt on top, like if you know the scar is only down here? And not only that, like I remember when I was still pregnant, I would on Instagram I would see pictures of women with scars and what that looked like, and that shit terrified me. Like I was so scared to look at my scar the first time. Remember, I couldn't look at it, and we were in the restroom, and I was like, Barry, like you have to look at it for me because I need to know how bad it is, because you need to tell me how bad it is, and if it's bad, like I'm not gonna look.
And on the flip side of that, we'd also see people on Instagram like who had babies and like shortly after were working out or walking. We're just kind of like, how is that?
And that's the person I thought I was gonna be, and it just didn't pan out for me that way. And everything was hard. Like, couldn't go to the restroom by myself. Like you wiped me and like you did everything for me. Like you showered me. You did all of that. And it's hard. Like, you have to hug a pillow when you laugh because it hurts that bad. Like, I dreaded coughing. I dreaded sneezing because like it hurts, and like you feel like you're sewn up. So every time you sneeze or cough or something, like you feel like everything's ripping apart. So I would never want to do anything because I felt like I was ripping apart. And
you also said you felt like your organs are just floating.
Ugh. Yeah. It's just disgusting. I don't even know. And then on top of that, like your legs are super swollen, like huge. Like I never even got swollen pregnant. Yeah. And I feared that. Remember, I was like, I think when I would tell you when I was pregnant, like when I see my legs swollen, like I'll give up. Like I'm gonna be done. Like that's when I know, like I'm.
And then we shortly later found out you like pulled like your groin muscle.
And then I pulled
because of all that.
I pulled my groin muscle because of all the pushing, I think. And it's on the right side. So if you saw our labor story, Andre, I think he was pulling way harder than you were.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
So my right side's messed up. And I think I never felt it because of all of the pain medication. So it was just hard. And yeah, the leg swelling, like I would just cry looking at my legs because I'd never experienced something like that. And that's very like, it's harder when you didn't expect it, I think.
And then you add the physical pain with the medication, with the not feeling yourself, not being able to like move around, and then you sprinkle hormones on it. Yeah. And
not only that, it's also taking care of the baby. Like
you have a baby. Like in between all that, you have to like breastfeed a baby. You have to, wash bottles, feed it, make sure it's sleeping,
well, not
make sure
even
it's
that.
cleaning diapers.
I remember the first couple of days at the hospital, I would just cry because I couldn't hold still. Like everything hurt me, like to change your diaper, and then you have to breastfeed, which means having a child on top of you surrounding your stomach area. Like I still get very sad because I try to mentally forget about everything and just like the C-section, just forget about it. And then so I'll be changing her diaper and she accidentally kicks me in the stomach. Yeah. And like my stomach until this day is still numb. And it's still sore and it still hurts.
Almost 4 months later.
So that's a mental reminder, like, oh, you had a C-section, like, oh shit, like, oh, you have a scar. You know what I mean? So it's like, I still can't forget about it. And for me, like, I don't think there has been a day where I haven't thought about it since we gave birth.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of going back to what I said, like you do all that and you sprinkle hormones and that takes a toll on us personally, like us, our relationship was definitely tested. There was situations where, you'd lash out or you wouldn't communicate or, I felt like I couldn't do anything and I felt like pushed away. And obviously that caused friction between us and all these problems. So I think no matter what relationship you have with your partner, whether it's great, whether it's bad, it's going to get tested. Definitely. And it was very hard on us. I think to this day, it's a little bit difficult because there's things that I cannot relate to. I can't physically understand what's going on. I try as much as I can, but it's something that I can't, relate to. And you know that, and you let me know that. So, I can.
Yeah, it's hard.
The only thing I can do is fully support you as much as I can.
Yeah. Like I think I said this in one of the other videos too, but it's like I sit there and stare at you sometimes and I'm just like, you don't feel anything. You haven't felt anything, and you still don't feel anything. It's just like,
you little bitch. That's what you say to
me. Yeah.
And I get it. I understand.
It's like not frustrating because it's not like I want you to have a bit. You know what I mean? Like it's not even that. It's just like,
no. I think it is a little.
I feel like I have to. Barry helps me a lot. Like he's a very great partner, and he does a lot, and he helps me a lot. And
keep going.
Shut up. And he really took care of me. at the hospital. Like I even like I think my parents were very scared. I remember my mom told you like thank you so much. Like
Yeah.
and my mom's very like, what's the word?
Unemotional.
Unemotional, and she like thanked Barry and was like thank you so much for like taking care of her. Like obviously we couldn't have any help at the hospital or visitors.
Yeah.
So she like thanked him. So he's like very good. We'll just stop there because then he'll like be a butt.
Big-headed.
But still, it's like, and it's funny because Araceli, my mentor, the other day she was like, mother, she wrote to me and I was complaining about you about, I don't know what, like not complaining, but being a smartass like I am. And she was like, I always tell people motherhood is no joke. And it's like the woman really carries a lot of weight and she like really holds it down and she kind of does everything. Like you're there to facilitate, but it's like the woman's a provider. And I tell you all the time, like, and I don't mean this in like a bad way because like you're great and I love you, but like I'm Soul's lifeline.
Yeah.
And that's scary and that's a lot of pressure. So I think when you have a C-section, having that pressure of like being a good mom, whatever your definition of that means, and like physically not being capable of like fully providing like you want to, that messes you up like mentally.
Shout out to like the single mothers out there because I really have no idea how they do it. Like there's times where like you can't shower until I'm there. Like I really don't know how people do it without help, without a partner, and it's crazy. It sucks to even think about, but yeah, like the mothers.
Yeah, that's that right now. Like we feel like we're drowning, and that's just and like we have each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like we wish we had people because of COVID. But yeah, it's hard.
And I think there's also a lot of things that people don't really discuss about postpartum. Like there's topics that aren't really covered as much as they should be.
Yeah, on Instagram there's this whole, or I think Desi Perkins too, she did a whole video on like things they don't tell you when you're about to become a mom or things that like nobody talks about. And I definitely have my list too.
What's in that list?
So of the things, okay, so it's not very fresh. So there may be a couple of things that I forget. Like in the labor story, I forgot to talk about like the COVID test and like pushing with a mask. Like that is pretty hard and sucked and is huge. And yeah, so not everything's fresh. So I may forget some things, but night sweats were intense for me. The nights at the hospital, I think I didn't pay attention to as much because we were in the hospital, like you're in the moment.
Yeah.
But when we came back home, like I would just be drenched in sweat, like when we would sleep at night. And I think it's because your body's like releasing all the stuff that it's releasing.
My soul was born in November, so it was kind of cold.
Yeah, it was pretty cold. And it's just like nights, like you wake up and like your whole neck is wet. And you're just like, what the hell? Or like my shirts would be like drenched. And
breastfeeding, what that entails and all its glory.
Breastfeeding. So like you might have really great nipples and like it's easy for the baby to latch, but if you don't have
it's kind of funny how like
nipples,
you don't realize the difference in nipples. That's a whole different topic that maybe we won't discuss, but there's like
point is you can have shields and like that helps you mold what you need to be molded into to be able to latch a baby. Nobody talks about like I thought breastfeeding, like you just pop it out and like the baby
just goes for it
and like you're chilling and it's like, all right, like let's breastfeed. But then
it's like the whole thing of like, are they eating enough? Like
yeah,
that's
like
a whole thing
how
in
do
itself.
you gauge that? And then there's like
the different kind of pumps
that you can use and like how your ass hurts if you're sitting down pumping like every 2 hours
plug
for
next
15
to, a wall.
to 20 minutes, plug next to a wall. My tailbone like actually hurt, and I would tell you that and I think you'd be like, this bitch, like she's like being
we've gone through 3 different pumps. We've had the one that insurance gave you, which is Medela. Shout out, check your insurance. Sometimes your insurance covers your breast pumps.
No, I think every woman's covered.
Yeah, so make sure you know that. Then we bought a Spectra.
If you want it, message me, I'll sell it to you. It's brand new.
And we've used it like twice.
I used it twice, and then I was just like, I'm not doing this life. Like Me duele el culo. I would tell you that all the time.
Because you
Like,
literally had to be plugged in on a certain side of the bed every
yeah.
single time to pump, and like
And
you,
then I couldn't move because of the C-section, so it was like double, like sitting on my
yeah,
bum like the entire time. So I finally got
an LV
an LV,
balled
which is
out.
like a portable, is it
Yeah,
portable? Wearable breast pump. And it's expensive and it's kind of frustrating because I think I put something in the sterilizer that I wasn't supposed to put into. So I'm having technical difficulties. But anyway,
my little gasket's all wango, so now you gotta like put it a certain way. I still tell you to reach out and try to figure that out. But anyways,
the email's really long. Okay, so yeah, that's the whole thing. Like figuring like out your breast pump, like your pumping schedule, like having enough
producing
breast
enough
milk.
milk,
Jesus
what
Christ,
you have to
like
do if there's certain foods, there's certain things
like worrying about like is she gassy, does she have colic? Thank God she's like good now.
yeah.
But that's a whole situation. Like if you don't eat enough, like you have to stack throughout the day. Nobody tells you how hungry you're gonna be
Oh yeah.
when you're
Arleen
breastfeeding.
eats a whole meal and then she's just hungry 20 minutes later.
Like yesterday we had enchiladas. Like I was like, I'm eating my own plate. Like do not bug me. Do not like tell me I'm spending too much money. I do not care. And then we got home.
$100 later.
We got home and I was like, I'm hungry. But yeah, like you have to snack a lot. You have to stay hydrated. Like I think oatmeal helps, and it's very stressful. Like if you're not producing enough milk, you're getting stressed out, and then that
You're
stress is
engorged
like
if you don't
affecting
pump.
your production, and then you're engorged. So if you don't let all the milk out in time, then it gets backed up in your boobies, and then you have really hard rock boobs all of a sudden. It hurts. You have to physically massage like your ducks. I didn't
Yeah.
even know what the hell that was until now. It's como bolitas. They're like bolitas. So you have
Yeah.
to massage them for like the milk to like flow out. And it's just like intense and it hurts all the time. And when the baby cries,
Your
it's like a
boobs hurt.
signal. And that's like, I don't know if it's like the milk coming in or what it is, but like they know to make milk for the baby. You're just like, what is this?
Yeah, breastfeeding is crazy. Shout out to all the breastfeeding moms.
We're cows.
There's a lot of things that we're doing now to figure out how to get towards normal, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So things that we've tried or we've done, obviously going to the chiro, physical therapy, red light therapy. Um,
Yeah, so I did want to talk about physical therapy after giving birth, specifically for C-sections. And even if you didn't have a C-section, like if you can go to physical therapy, I recommend it because
yeah.
I always feel like that's a pro. Like it can never be bad. So I see Dr. Q in Long Beach, and she's just so cool. I feel like she's like a me, like in the doctor version that I can talk to. She's really cool. She's very well informed. Like I said, she's all about like community, like helping people of color. And I really, really appreciate that. And I feel like we need more people like that in the field.
Yeah.
And that are also like willing to help and that are genuine and not and more open. And they give you like more insight on like the differences between like at home births and birthing centers versus hospital that you don't know because a lot of people, again, this is not medical advice. Like if you want to do your own research, like go ahead and do that. This is just what I've learned in my experience and my interpretation because I may be like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
the biggest thing is that there's alternatives other to
Yes.
than what we're used
Birthing
to.
at a hospital and like in reality, a lot
Yeah.
of people don't need to birth in hospitals, whatever, long story. But I've been seeing her. A big thing for me was massaging my scar that like gave
Before
me,
that, we actually, I remember I got it for Christmas or something, your birthday, a
yeah.
massage from an actual, what was she?
Simba just fell.
Loser.
You got me a massage with somebody who specializes in like postpartum massages.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is key. Like I recommend that. Like your body goes through so much stress during labor that it's nice to treat yourself and like put yourself back into place after birthing a whole human. But yeah, you got me a massage, which I highly recommend. What was I talking about that before that? You interrupted me.
Dr. Q.
She massages my mascara. So my mascara.
Mascara.
She massages my mascara. So my scar is not as bad as I thought it would be. I would go on Instagram and I would see women with staples on their belly, and that psyched me out. So after the delivery, I was really terrified to see my scar, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I can live with it. And I've heard it only gets better and like thinner and like goes away a little bit ish. So I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, like I'm cool with it. We're homies now, but I can't massage it. Like it psychs me out. And like when you have a scar, there's a lot of scar tissue that builds up around it. And then like your stomach, I don't know if it's built up, I don't know what it is, but I think also since they cut up, there's just like a lot of buildup in your stomach. And then you also have a shelf, which I call my mommy pooch, which is like, you know, like kind of giving me a little bit of self-consciousness that I'm trying to work around that. And yeah, I couldn't massage my scar. So she massages my scar for me. And I'm like learning to live with it. And I'm also doing Pilates as a form of recovery to like rebuild my strength.
This is also at physical therapy.
At physical therapy, yeah. So she does my, she, like one day I'll go in, like we'll talk, and she massages my scar. She'll ask like if I need like help with anything else, and like we'll take care of that. And then another day of the week I will go to Pilates, which is so hard but so rewarding postpartum, because it really helps you regroup your muscles, and kind of starts putting everything back into place for you. Because I remember the first time I tried to work out, it was just like a stretch. I just laid there and cried.
Yeah,
and I was like, please help me up. Like, this is so bad. And then when I was like a little bit better, I tried doing workouts at home, but then I noticed that I did ab workouts.
And they would always tell you, don't
do it.
Don't do it.
And I was like, because you know how I am.
Yeah.
But
you push yourself too hard
yeah,
and you're in
I would feel
pain.
like I'd have a hole in my stomach, and I'd just be like, okay, no, I need help. So Jess had actually told us about Dr. Q, and I started going, and I'm very, very grateful to have found this resource. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been helping a lot.
Yeah, I think collectively we're both making progress as far as figuring out our groove with soul, figuring out kind of our, you know, things that we need to do to mentally and physically get back to where we need to be.
Yeah.
And I say we because it is a journey that we're both taking together.
Yeah.
I think the physical therapy is key. You know, we did chiro.
I went to chiropractic
went to
for a little
chiro
bit.
for a while, and that also helped a lot because they would, you know, because you're sitting in a certain position for so long, like your tailbone hurts, or like your neck hurts, your shoulders, everything, your back.
You're hovering all the time.
Picking up the baby, like carrying her, all that kind of adds strain to your body. So those things are very important to make you feel like you're physically
and
okay.
I really like hope. I don't know. I tell the doctor this all the time, and I'm just like, I really don't know how women do it without all of these resources.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking hard. And I feel like it's just like the grit we naturally have in us to like just go through things. To endure it. And I think about like our parents all of the time, and like older people and like other people that just like can't have this help.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, because I also think that mentality applies there too, where there's just like, you just gotta deal with shit and like keep going.
Thug it out.
You thug it out and like keep going. But I hope like women not moving forward, but like I just hope like women know like
there are resources
and there is help.
Because there's a lot of times that people kind of endure these things just because they think that's all they can do. Exactly. And that cause long lasting effects that you can probably avoid, which is what we're trying to do.
Yeah. With
all these visits with physical therapy, the chiro, the red light therapy, all these different things.
And even mentally too. Like I was telling the doctor, like I think I'm traumatized, but I take that very lightly, like in my head. And I don't think I realize like the help that I actually need. And then I told her one time, like I had a nightmare about the epidural. Remember I woke you up? I had a nightmare that I was getting epidural, and like I lost it, and I woke Barry up, and I was like, dude, like wait, help me. Like this is bad. And she was like, you sound like you need to see a therapist. And I was like,
but we have a podcast.
That serves as therapy.
Yeah.
No, I don't take that shit lightly though, but like it stayed in the back of my mind. I think I told you the other day too. I was like, maybe I do need to go to therapy. So I'm thinking about it. I told Jess about it too, and she was like, maybe you do need to go to therapy.
Yeah, I think, again, and that's...
So I'm thinking about it.
That's normal. I think it's things that are important. I think, again, like there are resources out there for people, for women who have to go through these things. And, you know, it's you shouldn't feel ashamed of any of this kind of stuff. Because
yeah, and I wanted to point that out too, because I feel like everybody has a complete different experience. And I feel like for someone who probably had a 4-hour labor and like gave birth easily and was like able to jump up the next day, you're probably like looking at this and being like, she's dramatic, you
Right.
know, or she's like what the hell, like it's not that bad. Or maybe you had a C-section and like it's the best thing in the world, but for that person that it was the worst thing in the world, like it's kind of a big deal, and
For
like
sure.
really impacts you in a different way. And I feel about this with my mom all the time, because I feel like I love my mom, but she belittles a lot of like my experience and like the way that I'm going through things.
Yeah, I think because they've gone through different experiences themselves. They had their own personal obstacles and hardships, which it was obviously being first generation and,
Yeah.
you know, figuring life out here, and, you know, they made it work. So for them, it's kind of like, what are you complaining about? You have
Yeah.
great care.
And I understand that. I completely understand that. And like I look up to that because they were able to get through things like a lot, but it's also really toxic
For sure.
when you're a woman, you
It's also
know.
difficult. Like
It's
everybody has their own,
hard.
everybody's body is different. So you can't really tell somebody how they should feel.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I also saw this thing where it was like a meme and it's like, how's the baby doing? And like nobody ever asks about the
It's
mom.
always how's the baby and how's the mom. Yeah.
Yeah, and how's the mom? Or it's like, oh, but the baby's healthy, so like that's all you should care about. And it's
Right.
like,
Your mental health doesn't matter.
you know, like, yeah, you don't know like when I'm crying like in the bathroom, but cool, like. But I'm grateful, like Soul's okay. Obviously, like we're super grateful and like happy and like she's so cute. But like, there's just a lot of shit that goes on. Even though it's been difficult, um, I think like now I'm kind of finally finding my groove. Like I wouldn't say like until now, like maybe like what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That's sad. No, like even like our proposal, like remember I didn't feel okay still.
Yeah.
I think I've recently started finding a little bit of a groove. Like before, I hadn't gotten my eyebrows done in like a week. I finally got that done. I've started like getting manis and pedis more
It's
often.
very more self-care on your end, and feeling physically better makes you feel mentally better about yourself.
Yo, I started driving on my own.
I think just the idea of like taking the car out, going to get coffee, going to
Yeah.
physical therapy on yourself.
You
Like,
drove me like my entire pregnancy, kind
yeah.
of, and like obviously postpartum, I can drive for a little bit, but I started driving on my own for like a month now. I'm just very spoiled.
Especially with
Don't judge me.
COVID, like you can't leave really, so you're at home with the baby all day, every
I'm
day.
stuck at home. Like there's times that I cry to you because I'm like, at least
You feel trapped, yeah.
I feel trapped. Like sometimes like I'm like, you get to go see other people at work. Like I don't. I'm working from home. I'm with Soul all day. Like I have, like I talk to Soul, but that's very limited. So yeah. So it's just like trying to make yourself feel better. I feel better physically now where I can go do things. So like got my eyebrows done the other day. I've gotten a haircut. Like I do my nails now. Get manis, petties, like all that stuff. And that just makes you feel like it's nice to pamper yourself, and it's nice to like remind yourself that everybody says this a lot, but like you're still a person at the end of the day, and like just not a mom or Soul's mom or, you know, like a postpartum, because for a while like you feel like, I don't know, like a victim. Like I don't want to say victim because that's not the right word, but it's like you just feel like you're just going through postpartum and like that's all there is. But you have to, especially during COVID, it's hard because you don't see anyone, I don't talk to anyone really. So it's like taking yourself out of that and just like remembering like there's coffee out in the world, there's like food out in the world, like there are other things, and just like your normal stay at home, stuck at home life. So
yeah, I think the smallest things, just like and I told you this too, like keep the car, like once you feel okay, like put her in the car seat, like go get coffee, go do something, like get out for 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, just to make yourself feel normal again.
Yeah, but it's also hard, and I think a big component of it is that as a mom, like you're attached to your baby, like that's your human. You just birthed this human. For me, it's like I just went through all this. I want to enjoy my baby. I want to be next to my baby. So as a first-time mom, I think you have a hard time like letting go. Or like leaving my baby with my mom. I'm always like, how's the baby? Is the baby okay? Like you have this natural attachment, and it's not even trying to be overbearing with your child, because I feel like people misconceive that a lot. It's not like I don't want to give you my baby. It's just like, let me get through this phase to like the point where I feel comfortable, and like we'll be good. You know what I mean? But it's like, I just had this baby. Like people, I guess, forget that like this baby was like physically inside of me like for 9 months.
There's a huge attachment.
Yeah, there's an attachment. So that was hard too, because it's like you have to learn that balance, like when you're okay to not be with your baby for a while. And like that's okay, and it's different for everybody.
There's a lot of things that you can and you should be doing and that you are doing to make yourself feel better, whether it's the pampering yourself, whether it's going to physical therapy, whether it's going to the chiropractor, whether it's doing, you know, all these things to make yourself feel as normal as possible. I think those are things that people have to really, you know, take care of yourself. You know, pamper yourself, make sure you're okay first and foremost. Baby also is important, but I think you also need to make yourself a priority, because if you're not okay, you're not producing milk, you're not, you know, mentally there, you're not giving your baby the love that it deserves. Like, it's all those things kind of like boil.
And I think that's a big thing for me too. It's like I'm working on being a better person. Like, I have my own definition of what that is, and right now I don't feel like I'm the best person because I'm still going through it. Like you said, I lash out sometimes. Like, there are still things that I'm going through and trying to grow through to be like what in my head I envision, like Soul's perfect mom, you know, and like not perfect, like the best version of Soul's mom that I can be, I guess I can say.
Yeah, but we're figuring out day by day, and I think it's just an important conversation to have. I think any mother's going through it, you know, you're not alone. You have help. You know, if you guys have any questions, reach out to Arleen, reach out to myself.
And people do, and it's really cute.
Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, I think we are an open book. We've obviously we shared our journey with everybody for so long. Whatever it is that you guys need from us, we can help. If you guys need a Spectra pump, Arleen has a Spectra pump.
Come buy it from me, please. But I think we should wrap up and say, like,
because Soul's feeding time is...
Yeah, she's about to eat again. But I think you should give, like, dad advice for postpartum as a wrap up. And I'll give, like, my mommy advice for postpartum.
Dad advice, mom's always right. Plain and simple, bro. Don't question it.
I agree.
Mom's right.
Yeah, she is. Of course. But yeah, like, just love yourself, take care of yourself, like, know that you're doing the best that you can, and sometimes that's good enough for your baby. Like, babies are very, what's the word? Like,
they'll give you their cues what's wrong.
They'll give you their cues, but they're also very, like, no son delicados. They're very, you know what that word is? Like,
they're tough.
They're strong. Babies are strong, and like, they're going to be okay. So you need to be okay for them. And you just figure it out. Like, don't stress. Take it easy. Every day's a new day, and you just figure it out as you go.
And you guys will do it. All right, episode number 10.
I didn't cry.
I know. Good job. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. Please comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments, you know, any questions you have, future episodes. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We're sorry to wrap this really quick right now, but Soul is just about to wake up. So
see you next season, which is probably next week. We'll figure out what that looks like. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, thank you. Peace.